Ayan, kamusta naman kayo dyan? Happy New Year sa inyong lahat from me and Picasso in the town. Malapit ng birthday ni Picasso. Talagang palaban ito, no? Parang medyo paras na yung ating damit, Picasso. Parang damit. Parang yung suot mo at damit ko ay similar na. Happy New Year to you guys. I hope you had a lovely New Year. Lovely time with your family, loved ones. Cherish it because obviously in our case this year talaga na feel namin yung absence ni Lola, Elisa among us, something that we have been used to for far too long, but at the same time we did our best para tuloy-tuloy yung spirit ng kanyang enthusiasm, ng kanyang pagmamahal sa amin at sa pamilya namin. So I hope you also had a lovely moment with your family and loved ones. I hope you also had fruitful moment of reflection. O ano ba mga resolutions natin dyan? Ako, ang iniisip ko mga resolutions. To be honest, 2024 was very, very difficult. Not in a difficult sense na hindi natin alam gagawin natin. Difficult in the sense na ang dami natin ginagawa. I mean, it was an insane year, and I'm extremely grateful for that. It was a year that we met all sorts of different leaders, including leaders in Germany, Chancellor Scholz. We met ministers, diplomats, top thinkers. It was a year that we visited from Japan to Germany, among our favorite countries in the world. It was a year of hundreds and hundreds of articles and hundreds of vlogs and episodes. But most importantly for me, it was a year also that we got to spend more time with our family, loved ones, and also to do collaboration. So shout out dyan sa Cool Pals. Nakita ko dyan sa Reddit kanina, may pinost ng Cool Pals na isa sa dalawa nilang favorite episode, best ever episode of the year sa Cool Pals ay isa sa episode natin. I'm offended. Dapat lahat ng episodes natin ay favorite. No, yung isa episode natin na Busina sa India, 'di ba? That was a very interesting story kung saan dinikit namin, guys, yung kwento ko from North Korea, my days in North Korea on very serious issues. Isa diyan yung issue ng civil-military relations. Dapat ba matakot tayo na magkaroon ng kudeta? Dapat ba matakot tayo na magkaroon ng hidwaan sa loob ng armed forces ng the Philippines? Dapat ba matakot tayo na magkaroon ng gulo or civil war or anything of along those lines? Dapat ba matakot tayo na magkaroon ng violenteng version ng people power ng mga DDS or kung sino man? Pag-usapan natin in the coming days with the experts and people who know a thing or two about the military and civil-military relations. So, pag-usapan natin yan, guys, no? In the meantime, let me just lay out again what I think are gonna be the big themes for the coming year. Unang-una, it goes without saying that the question here is, what are the Dutertes gonna do? Because 2024 was a disastrous year for the Dutertes. Sara Duterte ended the year with barely 50% approval ratings and barely above 20% net approval rating. And she hemorrhaged 20% in Visayas and 13% in Mindanao in the fourth quarter of the year alone, putting her in the weakest position Duterte has ever been at the national position. The only thing that goes well for her is that BBM is also not doing well, with less than majority approval rating of around just 48%. But I think the question there is who has more to lose. I think first of all, in a sense, pwede pa bumaba palalo si Sara Duterte, and not to mention when it comes to BBM, he has the levers of power. He controls the state. He is the commander-in-chief. He is in charge of the national budget of 100 billion pesos. Habang si Sara Duterte, wala na siyang DepEd, alanganin na yung OVP position niya. Very, very isolated si Sara Duterte compared to where she was not long ago. So if you look at it, yes, both of them nagkaroon sila ng mutually assured destruction. But I would say that Sara is in a far more vulnerable position, at least in theory, assuming BBM plays his cards well, which is something I really cannot vouch for. I think if there's something I can say is that yes, BBM has been careful enough not to trigger unnecessary fights and confrontation. But as far as BBM is concerned, I don't think he has been decisive enough to push the button and to maximize the things as they should be. Okay, and hindi naman pagod si Picasso. Na pa si Picasso. Picasso, naboboard ka na ba? Now, parang bagay kami, the sheep and the shepherd. Ang vibes namin dito ni Picasso. No, but going back to this, guys. Um, Magsi-stress release tayo ng konti dito. No, for me, I think without a question, one of the things we have to watch out for is what will Risa and Leni do in the coming years. Because the best case scenarios will be Risa and Leni will both run for the highest positions. Maybe you can have a power team of Leni running for the president again, and Risa Hontiveros running for the vice president. That could be a kind of a best of both worlds situation, and I think it could be a decent and interestingly competitive team. The other scenario, not so good scenario, is that magkakaroon ng prevarication, magkakaroon ng magkakaroon ng hesitations, and at the end of the day, neither Riza nor Leni will be able to mobilize fully the opposition, the genuine opposition, and good governance movement in the Philippines. And then there's another scenario, of course, whereby magkakaroon ng, I doubt this at the level of Riza and Leni themselves, but some of their supporters trying to pit them against each other, and that's the scenario we don't want to see. In terms of some people saying, no, Riza na, panahon niya na, siya na dapat tumakbo, and at the same time, Leni people saying, no, Leni pa rin, siya pa rin na malakas, siya pa rin mapag-asa, ganon. That's the worst case scenario that we don't want to see in the coming years. So those are at least the three scenarios that we have to look at carefully in the coming years to come. In the coming years, no. And then of course the Tulfos are the wild card here. Rafi Tulfo is already number one in the surveys for 2028 presidencies. But then again, Rafi doesn't have machinery, doesn't have money of his own in terms to run for the presidency. So it remains to be seen what kind of coalitions, what kind of party machinery, what kind of deals he's gonna struck, and who's gonna be his tandem, who's gonna be his vice president. Martin Romualdez, Riza Hontiveros, sino ba? In order for him to be competitive in the elections to come, no, or whether he'll run at all, because as far as Rafi Tulfo's official statement is concerned, wala pa naman siyang balak para tumakbong presidente, since after all, meron pa siyang pwedeng takbuhan na isa pang term as Senate since first term pa lang niya as senator. And then let's see what BTAG, let's see what Irvin have to bring to the table, and then whether these brothers can get around some of the legal issues, including libel issues, and then some more serious issues that have been raised against them. Let's see what's gonna happen on those fronts. Now, balikan natin ito. I think for Leni Robredo, again, I'll stick to this point. I have been critical of the 11th hour organization by Leni Robredo back in October 2021. This is something that I've been very consistent about throughout the years. Parati ko sinasabi na you have to plan for things, hindi at the 11th hour, hindi at the 10th hour, but 5, 6, 7 years earlier, or at the very least 1 or 2 years earlier. Now, naintindihan ko, and this is where my open-mindedness comes in. There are times that, you can start a little bit later than usual. There are times that, siguro Pilipinas talaga ito. We can have an 11th hour mobilization or anything like that. Okay, nagigets ko yan. But I think hopefully we won't see that 11th hour mobilization that we saw in 2021, 2022. Because what we saw in 2020, 2022 is that sobrang laki ng potential ng pink movement. Sobrang laki ang potential ni Leni Robredo if she can mobilize this early on, whether for herself or whether in tandem for Risa, or whether with Risa as the standard bearer, and who knows, maybe Leni as the chief supporter, if not once again in vice presidential candidate, something I really doubt, but maybe as a mayor, as a prominent mayor supporting Risa for the presidency, or at least becoming kingmaker, queenmaker. So mahalaga yan. Ito yung mga issue na dapat pag-usapan natin. Ito yung mga issue na mahalaga talaga para sa ating bansa at pag-usapan natin. Now, on a serious note, bawa ka muna Picasso, baka magalit tayo, may maawain tayo. Sorry, nagalit siya. Now, let me get a bit serious about this. Okay, ito medyo serious yan Kasi kaninang umaga, ba ako natulog, ito yung nilagay ko Because for everything people say na eto si Richard mayabang to, walang paketo, whatever. I am a very independent-minded person. I do what I think is right. I stick to what I think is right. I'm not easily intimidated or anything like that. But I also pay attention if there's constructive criticism. I'll tell you this, guys. Discussing politics, FYI, every single day, throughout the year, no? For at least an hour, and sometimes more than an hour or two. Sometimes 3 or 4 hours. If you look at my interview with Joseph Scales, look at some of the interviews we have had, no? It's not easy. Hindi po madali yung ginagawa natin dito. Sobrang mahirap to. It's depressing and enervating even. At the very least, it's freaking hard. Because ang dami mga bagay na pwede natin pag-usapan na nakaka-stress, nakaka-dismaya. Nakakawalang gan. And sometimes just plainly preposterous. Just look at the clown show that we could have in Senate, which is even worse than the clown show that we have right now in the Senate. You think Robin Hood Padilla, you think Bato de la Rosa already clown enough? No offense. Oh my goodness. Look at what could be the possibility in the next Senate. So it is depressing. It is enervating. It is extremely hard to talk about politics every single day. For some of you na pitik-pitik lang mag-comment dito, for some of you na self-righteous na pakit-pakit lang dito, for some of you can just write a column here once a week or twice a week or whatever, once in a month, or write a book every 3 years or 4 years. You have no freaking idea how difficult it is to discuss Philippine politics or politics for that matter in the 21st century every single day for at least an hour. All right? So it's freaking hard. It's freaking hard. And I hope you keep that in your mind, okay? Isaksak niyo yan sa skull niyan if some of you don't understand how difficult what we're doing here is. How is it difficult? It is difficult because sometimes it puts into question your faith in democracy. It's difficult because sometimes it puts into question whether all of the things we do in terms of having a reasoned, pluralistic discussion really makes sense. Whether people really care at all about serious discussion about politics. Whether people care at all about critical thinking. Whether people care at all about their own interests and the long-term interests of the country. And dito dun sa mga epal dyan na walang alam, I mean, go ahead. You think you can do your podcast better than us? Go ahead. You think you can do it better than me? Better go ahead. No one is stopping you. No one is stopping you. But this is what I'm telling you. If there's one thing I learned from writing thousands of articles and doing thousands of vlogs, all right, thousands of vlogs, and at least 756 or 7 vlogs alone, episodes alone on my podcast and Spotify, which we just launched 2 years ago. But our vlogs go well beyond that. So we're talking about thousands of vlogs here. If there's one thing I learned is that you need a sense of irony, dark humor, and even parody. And I'll tell you what, I raised this with no less than Pinoy. I had a conversation in 2019 with President Aquino. He called me. He liked some of the things I wrote, but he didn't like some of the things I said. And I told him point blank, President Aquino, we are not in Germany. This is not Scandinavia. And guess what? If this was Scandinavia and Germany, all right, I would have eaten you, all of you guys, alive in a proper debate. But we are not in those kinds of systems. All right? We are in a tropical, drama, fun, chill kind of society. So you have to adjust accordingly. You have to show compassion. You have to show drama. And more importantly, dapat may sense of humor ka. So doon sa mga nagmamaganda dyan, all right, who do not understand their own country, this is not Norway. This is not New Zealand. All right? This is not the German Bundestag. All right, this is not the Russian Duma for that matter. This is not one of the more serious type of debate cultures or societies, not even Britain for that matter. All right, we have a tropical culture, fun, fiesta kind of democracy. And you have to deal with it accordingly. Kaya nga paulit-ulit ko sinasabi, ang titignan yung modelo ay hindi Norway, hindi New Zealand. Ang dapat titignan natin modelo ay Ecuador, Chile, Mexico, Argentina, yung mga ganitong bansa, minus Milei and all some of those clowns who are in charge. Lulismo, yun yung mga dapat pag-aralan natin if we want things to work in our country with our fiesta culture. And if you pay attention, an ounce of attention, you don't need to read all the Perry Anderson and Benedict Anderson of the New Left Review books kind of articles and essays and all. I don't expect that from some of the Dilawan out there who don't obviously are not really reading much in this world and not much scholarly work or much serious work to put out there. But for heaven's sake, understand your own country. Hindi tayo New Zealand, hindi tayo Norway. You need irony, you need parody, and you need humor, dark humor. Because dark humor and irony is what will keep our sanity. And more important is what will allow us to connect to the people. The closest way to the heart of the Filipino people is humor. Humor. It's extremely, extremely important. And if you don't understand that, you have no business doing political analysis in the Philippines. Kita na lang tayo sa Norway or New Zealand, mag-usap tayo. But here, you have no business. And humor, and most importantly, parody. Google niyan if you don't understand what parody is. I suggest you read the book on postmodernism right? As Late Capitalism by Frederick Jameson. All right. When he looks at the distinction between parody and pastiche, pastiche is kachipan, pastiche is pakyutan. And I saw some of the idiots out there saying, oh, wag tayo magpakit. I sorry, sir. Now, wag tayo pakit-pakit. No, no, no. If you actually use your brain and you're understanding things properly, we're not doing pastiche here. What we're doing here is parody. We're using irony, we're using dark humor to actually expose how ridiculous the situation is, how ridiculous some of these politicians are, and to make these politicians feel and know and realize they cannot get away with it. Parody is a weapon of resistance. It's a weapon for sanity preservation and also for motivating authors to pay attention and remain engaged rather than succumbing to cynicism and despair. Yan ang parati ko sinasabi doon sa ating mga kaibigan na tibak. Alright? Pwede tayo mag-compete. Pwede tayo mag-compete. Akala niyo kailang magaling kailang magaling when it comes to depressing discussion of how horrible things are in the Philippines. Believe me, I can do that 10 times better than you guys if you want to talk about depressing stuff in this country. But that's not the point. If you make people feel so depressed and helpless, they're gonna give up. They're gonna get disengaged. They're gonna get cynical. And then you're gonna get the worst outcome, political immobilization. That is what we cannot afford. One of the reasons you also need irony, you need parody, is because you want people to still have hope. Not false hope, but real hope. And the reason why I say it's real hope, not false hope, is because I've seen countries which are way worse than the Philippines. My goodness. I can give you examples of 10 other countries that are way worse than us. My goodness. And yet people are fighting for a better future. You think Alexei Navalny, when he was fighting in Russia, my goodness, you know what Alexei Navalny was up against is incomparable to anything the Maria Resas or whatever of the Philippines had to deal with. My goodness. And in the end, he was killed. That's a serious situation these people have to deal with. And yet the guy kept his smile, kept his irony, kept his humor. You don't want to believe me? Go and read Alexei Navalny's, yeah, go ahead. Read this, read his, not only his book. Go and read this, basahin niyo yung mga kanyang letters from inside the prison. He still kept his sense of irony. The whole Gogol and all of the Russian humor, dark humor culture. Because that's how you keep it together. All right? Yes, yes, okay, yes. So actually the true clowns here are the people who do not understand why you need irony here. Why you need dark humor? Because it's for us to keep our sanity and for you to keep engaged. We need to keep engaged. Because if you make it look as if it's so depressing and hopeless, people will just give up. What's the point? Right? If it's so hopeless, then what's the point? Mag-migrate na lang tayong lahat, diba? Which is what most of the people are doing anyway, right? That's why you need irony and dark humor and parody. Parody's weapon. Pastiche is kachipan. Right? So if you're shallow-minded, hindi ka malalim mag-isip, you will mistake parody for pastiche. You will mistake parody for pastiche. So that means you have to brush up on your reading. Do a little bit of more Frederick Jameson or Benedict Anderson or Perry Anderson or a little bit of Antonio Gramsci. And I don't know, a couple of other interesting guys I can recommend to you guys. Because that's what I'm doing in order to make sense out of things. So if some folks can get the basic facts of human condition in the Philippines, yung mga katotohanan when it comes to political engagement, then maybe you should choose a different profession. Kaysa magmamaganda kayo, magpa-cute kayo dito, mag-feeling nagmamalinis kayo, nagpa-purist kayo, you don't belong. You just don't freaking belong. Alright? Patalo lang kayo. You're just gonna give more and more chance to the bad guys to keep on winning. Or at the very least, stop bemoaning your irrelevance at the expense of those who are doing really, truly their best, human best, to make critical political analysis, cut through all the trash and the simulacra of whatever late capitalist, post-feudalist, nonsense, Carvinalist information ecosystem, what we're facing with right now. Okay? Yeah. Yes. I'm serious. All right? Now, we have great journalists in this country. We have people who can ask the right questions. We have great people who can, talk to the right people. We can have great people who can do the scoop, who can talk to the important people. Marami tayong magaling na journalists. What we need more are political thinkers, serious thinkers. Hindi yung pakit-pakit lang na or mga shallow level political analysis. I'm talking about serious political analysis, systemic analysis, structuralism, post-structuralism, Hegelian dialectics, dialectical materialism, whatever you want to throw out there. You have to employ whatever you can, guys, in order to make sense out of what's happening in our country. So, do not be fooled by our laughters and jokes. And yes, tao lang kami. Sometimes maybe we get ahead of ourselves. But please, don't make this pathetic thing like toxic masculinity, whatever. If wala kang sense of humor, or epal ka lang, or wala kang counterpart, just keep it to yourself, alright? So don't be fooled by our laughters. We're not joking around here, alright? Grow up, learn, innovate, and try to appreciate the little thing we're trying to do here. By using a bit of humor, sometimes off maybe, sometimes corny, sure, whatever. But guess what? It works. It works. Look at the monthly engagements that some of us are putting out there. We're talking about tens of millions of engagements every year. This is not to boast. Tens of millions is nothing. We should be doing billions. But it's okay. At least we're starting somewhere. All right? We're starting somewhere. All right? At least we're doing something. So sana, kaysa mag-chip shot tayo, trying to stab each other in the back, or magpa-cute tayo, or magpa-virtue signaling tayo, or, trying to copy the loser tactics from elsewhere. My goodness, aren't people learning anything from the horrible things happening in the US and other countries when there's this backlash against wokeism and all of that? Grow up. Mag-next level na tayo, guys. So, going back to this, guys, we do what we do. And for some of you who have been with us throughout the years, yung mga kasama natin 2021 pa lang, 2022 pa lang, nakikita niyo na bawat taon, medyo nag-innovate kami. Sometimes, magandang innovation. Sometimes, hindi ganun kaganda. Sometimes, sobrang ganda. Sometimes, patok. Sometimes, hindi. Okay lang yan. Pero mahalaga po dito is we're trying our best to keep on pushing the envelope to make something work. And I always say, this is not about me because I'm sure always there are other people who can do it better than me. But at the very least, we're pioneering something special, or what we feel or what we hope will be special in terms of pushing the bottom. Kaya mahalaga po para sa atin na lumaban po tayo. Lumaban po tayo at gamitin natin hindi lang mga depressing narratives. Gumamit po tayo ng humor, dark humor, irony, parody. Labanan po natin itong mga pastiche, kachipan, and nonsense, fake news. Lahat na yan. Gamitin natin lahat ng mga weapons na meron tayo, short of literal weapons, in order to be able to at least create some room for people to imagine things outside the forsaken nonsense that they're facing every single day. At the end of the day, everything is political. Every single thing is political, whether you want to admit it or not. The clothes you wear, the fashion you choose, it has to do something with politics. In what sense? First, it has something to do with the fact that all of us, in one way or another, are dominated or being dominated or influenced by the United States of America as the most powerful country in this world. The American culture is still the default hegemonic culture. That's power. That's politics. Maraming tao, ginagawa nilang ABC para maging mukhang successful sila. Bakit? Because they care about status. That's politics. That's about hierarchy. That's about power relations. That's about flexing, right? Many of the things we're doing here, guys, even yung virtue signaling, even if mga pa-cute or mga pa-purist na yan, that's a form of politics too, right? Because you're trying to say, you may not have the power of the other side, you may not have the guns and the goons, but you have a pure heart or whatsoever, or whatever you're trying to claim to have. So everything is political in one way or another if you really pay close attention to things, right? Kaya mahalaga po itong mga diskusyon natin dito. Because dito nalalaman po natin ano ba talaga maganda para sa ating bansa. Anong gumagana at hindi gumagana. Ano bang dapat natin maintindihan. And I'll tell you what. One of the reasons I keep on reading, I'm not satisfied with the Foucaults and the Derridas and the Camus and Sartre and all of I read back in my college days and all. I know politics keeps on evolving. I'm not even just happy with reading post-colonial stuff, whether it's from pre-Rizal to post-Rizal to Ho Chi Minh to I don't know to Spivak or whatever. It's because I understand the situation in the Philippines is evolving on a daily basis. So kasama po tayo dito in both theory and praxis. Kasama po tayo dito in figuring out what really works in our country. So in as much as I said that everything is politics, politics is also about culture. So isa sa na dapat maintindihan natin dito at itong dapat talagang susuriin natin guys in the coming days, in the coming months is paano natin magamit ang kultura para palakasin yung ating mga adhikain. Dahil to be honest, kung hanggang salita lang po tayo, hanggang mga jargons lang po tayo, hanggang mga self-righteous rhetoric lang po tayo, hanggang mga papurist effect lang tayo, wala po talagang mangyayari sa ating bansa. Tuloy-tuloy lang yung paglubog ng ating bansa sa katrapuhan at kung ano mga kaewanan at mga kagarapalan nangyari. We need to be able to deploy culture in ways that works for us. If that means me looking like a fool, making a dance here and there, and it just happens I can actually pull it off, then so be it. But the main point here, guys, is we need to leverage whatever we can in culture, in society, and all para yung ating mga kababayan magkakaroon ng pag-asa, magkakaroon ng bagong pananaw, at magkakaroon ng bagong pagtingin sa ating politika. Yung pong ginagawa natin. It's still an experimentation phase. I'm still looking at many things. I can see medyo all over the place tayo. But that's exactly part of what we're trying to do. We're trying to experiment and trying to figure out what could work. What could work. And at the same time, we try to keep it honest. Every single night, I go back to my serious readings. I try to do my Hegel or the new Hegelian studies. I try to do my, serious philosophical work because that's how you keep grounded. That's how you can make sure na hindi ka ma-suck into all of this pastiche and nonsense out there. Okay? So please, guys, the least I can ask from you guys is that to pass on this message, na dapat hindi tayo maging self-righteous, sanctimonious, and purist. What we need to be is to roll up the sleeves, get down, and fight the good fight. And kailangan natin tulungan yung mga mabubuting leaders. Kailangan natin tulungan yung mga mabubuting mga influencers. Kailangan natin tulungan yung mga intellectual, yung mga academics, yung mga thinkers, yung mga patriots who have been shouting in wilderness without anyone paying attention to them throughout the years. What we're trying to do here is to get the right ideas out there, to put popular support behind the right ideas. Yun pong wala tayo. The time during Duterte's were very scary because we realized, you could have what I call hegemony without domination. Duterte never fully controlled the military. He was not fully a dictator, but in a way he had hegemony. Hegemony in a cultural sense. He was the cool guy. He was the macho guy. He was the guy who sucked all the energy and the oxygen. He was the ultimate Karen. That was scary. That just tells you how vulnerable we are to being fooled by all of these scammy budul king types and queens maybe down the road, right? And please lang, all right? Please lang, okay? So, having said that, we have to be creative. Hindi po sapat yung usual. One of the biggest disappointment with journalism in the Philippines is like, you listen to a lot of journalists out there 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's the same thing. They just keep on calling out the latest corruption scandal. What is lacking is what Fernand Brodel called lingerie analysis. Bakit patuloy? Bakit tuloy-tuloy itong corruption na to? How is it evolving? There's no analysis. It's just descriptive. It's just going with the flow. What we need is a proper analysis. Bakit tuloy-tuloy itong corruption problem na to? Bakit lubog pa rin tayo sa problema na to? Pero at the same time, and this is where I feel I'm different, especially from some of our Tibak friends and all, at the same time, we also have made improvements. If 10 or 15 years ago, someone told you, Richard Hidarian, you can go on and do lives and all and discuss, I don't know, Gramsci, Frederick Jameson, who knows, whatever, Spivak, Derrida, and who knows, maybe you get 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 views. You can, roll up and pick up hundreds of thousands of views every day or every month. I would say you're crazy. It's never gonna happen. The best you can hope is to end up in a good university and have a good conversation with a few people and everything will be fine and be happy with that. Well, guess what? I was never just satisfied with that. I said, this has to go out there. This message has to go out there. Dapat papakinggan ng ating mga kaubayan mga pinag-usapan natin. Hindi pwede na sa classroom lang tayo na apat-apat tayo. Hindi pwede na sa academic conference lang tayo at tuwan-tuwa tayo sa ideas natin at nagbabash tayo, nagpapakyut tayo, nagfi-feeling tayo. No, you have to get it out. You have to fight the good fight. You'll get embarrassed, you get trolled, you'll get attacked, you'll get legally harassed, God forsaken, you'll get death threats, whatever. But you have to get it out. And in the process, wag kang mag-feeling na you got all the answers. No, I never assume I got all the answers. I constantly go back to my Platonic dialogues. I'm constantly looking at some of the Platonic dialogues I didn't read enough. I constantly look back at the works of Machiavelli, Nietzsche, whatever. Right? I'm trying to figure out with Cicero, with Marcus Aurelius, what is going on there? Ano yung kulang? Kierkegaard, Soren Kierkegaard. I'm trying to figure out what is my subjective truth. What is the objective truth? How can we put all of those things together? Kailangan po ng bayan natin ito eh. Kailangan natin ito, guys. So kaya, I call out. I have no patience, my friends. My friends, I keep on seeing people, wag mo na patulan to, wag mo na sabihin, no. For far too long, we allowed mediocrity and nonsense and pastiche and pa-cute and purism and nonsense to crowd out serious discussion. And what we're trying to do here is serious discussion once in a while. And those who get fooled by our laughters and jokes, maybe you're not enough, diba? Maybe you don't get what's going on here. So that's what we're doing here, guys. All right. And through interaction with you guys, through your comments, through your suggestions, no, I take note. I take note of criticisms, constructive criticisms. But when I feel some people are just doing it because it's not constructive, but something else is going on, I'm gonna call you out. It's like no one intimidates me, right? Kasi sobrang pathetic. I mean, the most pathetic thing I've heard is, say, Dari, mayabang yan. Like, yun na lang masasabi mo, mayabang lang siya. Like, it's like, is that the best you got? Oh, cloud chaser yan. Is that the best you can say? Seriously, especially if you're irrelevant. That's the last thing you can say. Like, what do you know about cloud if you're irrelevant yourself? Anyway, so what I'm telling you guys is that 2024 was a very, very difficult one because constantly iniisip natin sa gabi, sa umaga, saan po tayo nagkakulang, saan kailangan natin improve, ano bang mga kailangan natin mga katao na kausapin, ano bang mga collaboration na meron tayo. O itong tao na to, inimbita ko ilang beses na, hindi sumagot, daming excuse, bahala siya sa buhay niya, mama, ginawa pa ng issue ng mga tao, tapos ako pa may kasalanan, parang whatever, like third world low level stuff. I don't have time for that. Put it there. Let's move forward. Let's look at other people. Ganun lang. Go. But it's enervating. It's stressful. It's enervating. It takes away a lot of energy. But this is our truth. This is what we have to do, guys. This is what I have to do. And as I said, ako, isang tao lang ako. At the end of the day, there's just so much I can do. But if we can set a template, right? If we can set a template for how things can be done in the right way, in 10 years from now, there'll be 20, 30 of me, and all of them 10 times better than me. And then this country really has hope. And the least I can tell myself is, at least in my small way, I got the ball into motion. And I'm proud of that. I'll be happy for that. Right? By that time, matanda na tayo, okay lang yan. But at least while we're still young, where we have that dynamism, we still have that kapal moks, let's just get the ball rolling. Okay? And we have to fight the good fight, guys. Kaya parati kong sinasabi, ang ginagawa po natin dito is, kilusan ito, guys. Hindi lang ito, pakit lang. So yung mga iba dyan, you think, maybe you're not thinking deeply enough. Maybe you don't know what you're doing. Because what we're doing here is not just joking around. Because if you're just joking around, you can do it for 1 week, you can do it for 2 weeks, you can do it for 1 month. We have been doing this for 3 months, 766 episodes pa lang on Spotify and all of that. Now, how do you think we can do that, guys? If we really truly do not believe in certain things with profound sense of conviction, right? And at the same time, guys, if we are not learning things from each other, that is very, very important thing. That's very, very important thing. Kaya, pag sinasabi ko nagpapasalamat ako, totoo talaga yan. Galing talaga yan, guys, from the deepest recesses of our heart. Because there are times, tao rin tayo, napapaisip, pero Richard, ano bang ginagawa ko? Maybe I just should move to some, fancy think tank in Washington, D.C. or fancy research center in some Oxbridge or whatever. And maybe that's my place and I'm gonna meet all of this. And then what? And then what's gonna happen with our people? And then what I'm gonna look at is what? A bunch of deracinated academics, a bunch of self-righteous and sanctimonious politicians talking about their ano, and then allowing all the trapos and crocodiles and kutings and all of that taking over the system. Then where is your sense of responsibility? Where is the burden of responsibility? Where is the little thing that you could give back to your country, right? So yun po yung sinasabi natin dyan. Yun po yung sinasabi natin dyan. O ikaw, Big Three, kung sa tingin mo yapping lang yan, edi umalis ka, pakinamin sa'yo, di ka naman, di ka naman relevant. So yun. Right. So, for me, the best way to start the year is to reflect on things that gave animation to what you do. Saan po galing yung lakas? Saan po galing yung inspirasyon? Saan po galing itong energy? But more importantly, how can you sustain it? And even more importantly, how can you channel it in a much better direction? So thank you for your constructive criticisms. Believe me or not, I am open to that. I get messages and all of that, and there are many good constructive criticisms. I appreciate it. I also hope people understand, right? Put yourself in my shoes. You're being bombarded by all of these things. Minsan tao lang tayo. But point taken, and I do really appreciate more than even your constructive criticism is your support, your faith in the little thing we're doing here. Alam mo, marami na tayong politiko. Alam mo, marami na tayong mga academics. Marami na tayong journalists. What we need is proper political thinking. What we need is normalizing critical thinking. What we need is comparative nexus-based kind of understanding. What we need is this kind of casual conversation. Ang dami dyan mga bayaran na vloggers. Yung iba, dinebate ko pa. Pag nilagay mo sa harap ko, kahit 1 minute lang, hindi makapagsalita ng matino. Dahil walang kakwento-kwento yung mga ideas nila. Parang pwede na ako matulog. Gisingin niya, tapos na ba yung argument niya. So, maraming mga japiks dyan. Maraming epal dyan. May ghostwriter pa yung iba. Tapos mali-mali pa yung mga post nila. Walang kakwento-kwento yung sinasabi nila. These guys, here guys, what we do is real. No notes, no script, no agenda. Just us, just our ideas, and what we truly believe in. On that note, Happy New Year, guys. Thank you so much for the wonderful year we had together. Please continue to support us, spread the word, ask more people to check out what we're doing here, ask more people to give good comments, constructive suggestions, to support us, to give us ideas, to get the ball rolling, and please continue to encourage, no? Eto mga good podcasters, good thinkers to work together. Because at the end of the day, I think we're stronger when we work together, right? We are always stronger when we work together. And I think one of the best moments I've had this year are these conversations we have been having with all of these great people we have been working for. And thank you so much for that support that you have for us and for the inspiration na binibigyan niyo sa amin. Tuloy-tuloy na inspiration. So please let's encourage a culture of collaboration. Let's encourage a culture of cooperation, or at least cooperative competition. I'm all good with competition. I love competition ever since. I'm a competitive guy. But competitiveness just can get you so far. What we need is collaboration. What we need is cooperation. That is where the realm of meaning is. That is where big things can happen for a country. That's how we can go to bigger and better things. And yes, for all the Kanchawan, for all the Bardagulan, all the Patama and all of that, I always have genuine respect for a lot dun sa mga kasama natin who were being able to build their own channels, build their own platforms, build their own following. Pero sana lang, hindi lang tayo nagkukukun lang dyan, hindi lang tayo nagsasilo dyan. Sana lang we were able to also work together, do more of this together, learn from each other. Sana wag natin masyadong bigyan ng pansin yung mga haters and critics and all. I call them out once in a while, but I never allow them to get into my essentially zone. I keep on doing what I do because I believe in what we do, right? So sana tuloy-tuloy lang yan, no? Salamat. Thank you very much. Feliz Navidad. Happy New Year to our friends from different corners of the world, whether it's Florida, where it's California, where it's in Europe, Gitnang Silangan, my favorite, the Middle East, whether it's in Asia, Japan, Korea, Pennsylvania, ang dami natin mga supporters dyan, Ohio, yan, sige. Latin America, sana we have more followers from Latin America. Medyo napansin ko kulang yung followers natin sa Latin America. We have to work on that. Maybe I'll have to speak more Espanol. So let's do that. Let's let's do that for the coming year. So in the coming days, we'll have a discussion. One of them is hopefully with Admiral Ong. Pag-usapan natin, meron ba talagang panganib na magkaroon tayo ng kudeta sa Pilipinas? Dapat ba matakot tayo na magkakaroon tayo ng revolutionary government? Pag-usapan natin yan with the real experts out there. Thank you very much. God bless. Happy New Year. And talk to you soon. Maraming salamat for all your support, for stickers and stars. I really, really appreciate it. And God bless you and talk to you soon. Maraming salamat.